removed it off my chart. But this was our, the bullish bias that they did. They executed overnight. They ran it, and then this was the loss. This was critical, and it came in like middle of the night. If you took the short one I took, you really had to manage the stop loss wide. Mine was pretty wide, and I was okay. But then I basically took 2 trades after that, and I went into negative. So I didn't think we were going to have a V-shaped recovery. I took the short at 20 here, and that didn't work. And then I was looking for shorts around 35. I was up nicely, but I was being greedy. I was looking for a better pullback, and I didn't get that. So ended up they pretty much red, but that's okay. This one worked, but this was actually one that was probably causing a lot of trouble for all of you. The one that says extremely bullish. When we lost it and we regained that level, you have to think about, the probabilities, price acceptance, rejections, right? And where we bounced on the bottom, does everybody know what was there? Or let me just kind of touch this. Well, actually, I deleted everything here. So if you guys look here, the prior week low was right here, right? So it was 76.75 was your weekly low. And then we also had the October POC was in the area. And I actually wiped everything off my charts moments ago. So your October POC was sitting kind of like right here where we bounced as well. And then you had quarterly VWAP. There was a lot to be, broken down between the two levels. But now if you look at the profile that we have for month of October, I would say, let me go here. Let me go on Z. I think that's where the problem is. Okay, there goes the levels. So here's the October POC where basically we bounced and then at open, right, they came back. And if you go on like 5 minutes, you'll be able to see that nice retest, break above the weekly framing down, and then basically use that as a launch pad. And you had a couple of VWAPs that were pinching here to push higher. So I'm just gonna delete this unless you guys have questions on potential where do we go next, right? This is another level I'm watching, and we rejected this here along with the 50% fib nicely just moments ago. Any questions on this? I'm going to redo the level so you guys can at least kind of get in the process of doing that yourself, updating and looking at what's happening in the market. Any questions before we wipe it all out?
No.
All right. I'm going to hide this. And if you don't have these monthly, daily VWAPs, just shoot me a message. Let me know your TV username. And that's basically a custom VWAP that has all of the big ones here, and you guys will be able to see that from daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly. You're able to basically see all these VWAPs in here. Okay, I'm just gonna hide this. I'm gonna go here on 65 minutes. What am I on? Yeah. So here's our weekly. So here's that weekly low, right? So this is weekly low here. When you see how nicely they came back, went above it. The best part here now is when you look at this value area high of the prior week, look where we are dancing right now at the moment. We're kind of in that zone. Make sure I have this on RTH as well. Thought it was higher. Yep. It's at 50, I believe, 56.75. So there's a chance, right, that they could go push that, but they hit 54.25 and they rejected it. So as I was explaining in the chat, does everybody know where I got that from?
That was the high on Friday.
Yep. Well, it was a 50% fib, right? So if I take this and I change mine to 50%, so now you look at, let's see what I did here. That's the 54.25 where we just tagged. So remember I was talking about the discounts a few days back about the areas, right? So this is considered the discount zone, right? And people that were selling before, they might show up here. Now, if we reclaim this, just take a look at the chart. So let me go on like 3 hours. Remember the penthouse conversation that we had about when we drew a lot of colors during the chart? Do you guys remember this? Then we extended it. Does it ring a bell?
Yep.
We did
Yeah.
something like this, right? 5820, and then we did this zone to here. Everybody following so far?
Yes.
Okay. So now where we're coming, just to kind of give you a bigger picture, if we can get in here, what's the most likely outcome?
Visit the top.
Visit the top, but there's stuff you should be aware, right? So you had this mini consolidation. There was also a box from which we sold off from, right? So there's this little box you should be aware, and that's coming to about 90, 91 level. Does anyone remember this level being important at all from delta standpoint or any other level? Do you guys recall?
We're going up on
Yes,
declining volume.
a lot of negative delta.
91 was huge, and I don't know if you guys remember, me and Gator talked about the 91 level. I don't know if he's on, but we discussed it a few times. The 91 was huge, and he targeted one time when he took short, and we confirmed, yeah, that's a big level for delta. So now if you're able to, excuse me, if you're able to crack to this, maybe there's a chance you go from 56, right, to 91, and that's, doable. At the same time, what that would mean, right, that you potentially fill more of that gap. I think it goes up a little higher on RTH, perhaps. So it goes all the way here, right? So that maybe people start shorting that and then they keep pushing this. If we are able to open above this level, let's say 56 here, don't be too excited to short too much because you might, keep paying the price of looking for the top and they might just keep grinding that higher. When you think about let me just kind of hide this so you guys can see it here. When you think about the volume profile, right? So if I was to draw a volume profile from the bottom, let's just do it to the top and ignore it's not extend, right? I'm just gonna go on ES for a moment because that contract was not there. So what you guys see here, right, is that you have a couple of distributions, right? You had a mini distribution here, you had a massive distribution sitting here, and then you see another one in here. So it's kind of like multiple distributions. Even if you grab from here to the top, you might be able to see it actually a little bit better, right? You have a distribution here and another one here and then the one top. So we're coming in, and when you think about this on ETH now, it'll give you where you're bouncing, right? So let me give you this. We'll increase this to like 140 something. So now you're able to see where we bounced, right? So this is a distribution that started. Look where the bounce came in. I mean, literally to the bottom of that shelf, and then they bounced out of it, right? Which would be also out of this value here. If you're able to lose this level, then most likely you would hit this POC sitting 571 and ultimately the bottom, right? At this point on weekly, are we bearish or bullish?
Semi-bullish?
Okay. Where would we turn bullish on weekly time frame?
Over that 50.
That gap.
Okay. So same concept, right? I mean, I would first make sure you guys have the fibs. You want to grab these from the top to bottom, right? Let me make sure it's on RTH, ETH for this purpose. Yep. So that's an important level. And then if you look at this value area high that we had, it might give you a nice little zone, right? So something like this on this level, right? What I would be careful here is what? Being instantly bullish. What would you guys think could happen here?
Look above and fail.
Look above and feel something you guys should pay attention to tomorrow. If we peak above this tomorrow and we fail, this might get really, really aggressive, and this low is not going to stand a chance. Because right now, we didn't fill the bottom, we didn't fill the top, right? So if you peak above, let's say you tap it, you lose it, man, you're gonna fly down. Does that make sense?
Yep.
I would definitely watch this, you know, this is your prior week's value area high. So that's going to be a big level. And that's why we marked that zone here, right? So if they can get above that, that's great. And then on TPO, your value area for prior week is here, right? Prior week is here. Okay. So they got ways to go to be really, really accepted here, right? So they got rejected here. If they want to get in and play in the top house, they're going to have to reclaim this level, meaning you crack this, fill this, and then, you know, you're going to have that 91.85 level. It's going to be super important for them to kind of crack through. If you guys remember 85, it was 84.25 at one point. It was a super important level for us to break to trigger the sell-off. And of course they did that, but now they're knocking on the doors from the bottom. And that's where you need the sellers to really, really show up. Okay, so I would mark these gaps, right, just so you guys have them. That would be the gap. And you guys can mark this however you want text-wise. I'm just used to my way. Okay, and then this one here also happens to be Friday's high. Okay, so the question now is, what do we have so far in the market? We're done with the weekly. What do we have so far? Here's your daily profiles. What is market telling you here right now?
We're in balance.
Okay.
Yeah.
We got
At
an
the top of a
outside,
range.
daily. Oh no, it's still inside. It looks like.
So we had an outside day. We had a down day with the inside day, and now we have an outside day that closed above Friday's high. So if you're not able to hold, let's say this Friday's high, what would you guys expect to see?
80% down.
Yeah, there's a high chance of 80% down. Is there a particular level you guys would be targeting? It's kind of staring at you guys.
There's single prints between 910 and 901.
900.
Have
Okay,
value
so
area, low and value area, high area.
what
low
about
area.
like if you look at this and then you just draw a zone here? Would this be a pretty important zone? So you would
Yep.
have that Friday's value area high, you would have Monday's value area low, right, on a suppressed profile, and then you have an extension that's not very clean to the upside, and you would have single prints right in the middle of that. Do you guys remember this zone at all being important at all? 912, 908? When we were coming
That's
down,
the
Previous month value high.
Yeah, I mean, we were expecting a bounce. If you guys go back to the 908, 912 level, and we said if you can hold the 900, we would be somewhat bullish. But we expected to see a bounce in 908, 912, and today they brought in aggression right at that level, right? Does that make sense? Okay.
Yeah.
So here's your October value area high, right? Sitting right here, kind of in the middle of all of that, 913.5. And then, of course, the October POC would be here, worth putting on your chart. I'd put that, and of course I'd mark this level here, be September, value area high. The last piece would be to mark this Go over. Value area low. So now when I look at it, I have a meaning behind, you know, what is actually happening, right? So you're inside, you know, October value area high. If you're not able to hold this level, let's say we lose this level at one point at 59.10, there's a high chance that they've accumulated enough, you know, inventory to sell that we're probably going to burst through this zone here. But, you know, a lot of people trying to buy, they're just going to try to keep selling if that's what happens, right? If they're able to, let's say, crack above this 56, I would say there's potentially in play a new high coming in, right? And I would just probably do something like extensions, and I would target these levels up here, right? If they get in here, maybe some, you know, spy puts, let them come back, retest. Maybe a little bit better if they reclaim the 85 to 91 zone. Once they reclaim that, there's a high chance they're going to be getting here because a lot of people are going to be looking for shorts in this area. And when you think about this, right, this sell-off, you know, what did it accomplish? It went from the top distribution back to this middle distribution right here. And we didn't fill that, I would say, the Trump gap, as we called it, completely. So there is some buyers coming in, right? Especially today, you guys saw that, right? You guys go here and you expand your blocks and you kind of zoom in, you will see, you know, you have the A and B pretty compressed, and then here's your C period coming in and driving, right? The price much higher. So is there anything particular that you guys see here that's worth noting or on the daily?
Single prints.
Yep. So I would say the structure is, you know, probably not the best. You have a lot of single prints, and then here below you have two TPOs between A and B. So I would most likely just pay attention to this IBH, right? It's sitting right here. I'll make sure to know of that level, right? And I would probably mark that Tuesday IBH plus SPs. Right, and then you guys see that there's again more single prints here, and they basically cleaned that up on the way down, and then of course they created another gap because there was nothing there last time. Don't expect it to be this time. Okay. Now, what's the next step you guys should do? We're in a 3-day balance. What do you guys think we can do?
Check the SIGs for those.
FRVP.
Yeah, I would check the 6, right, to see where we are, and you don't want the 6 to be like this. You want it to be like 22 or something. Something doesn't look right. Okay, so I know now, right, that you have the SIG right here sitting at 59, 30, 25. And on Delta, there's some massive orders in that area, right? So I would just mark this level. And the reason why I'm marking this is I want to know where's the value of this 3-day, right? And that's basically what the SIG means. It's the first sigma on the bell curve, right? So I have the first one and the top one. So if they fail here, that means they'll be below the POC. They'll be below Monday's high. And if they reject Friday's high, that becomes bearish. So something like this could really, really happen fast. And remember, they've done this before, where in a day they go from one level all the way down to the other level here. Some bear crap going on again. Does that make sense? So I would keep this level in here as a critical point. It seems like this POC didn't really shift. It was a 20 per day before we had this spike. And I guess it's there right now as well. Does that tell you anything about auction?
It's two-sided.
Yeah, just not a lot of volume today, right?
Mm.
I would say the volume was weak at best. And if you look at it, here's your volume, and you can do. So here's your volume of today, right? A massive candle, I would say. But not necessarily the most volume we've seen so far. not compared to the sell-off candle here on Friday, right? So for me, the key is the green zone for the upside, right? If they're not able to kind of hold that zone, and let's say they lose the first sig, I would look to, look a little bit more bearish and, drive it all the way down. If they break this level right here, the zone, most likely we're going to fit this 10 points gap end. And then between here and here, you're targeting that 5986. Okay. In terms of the bearishness, right? If they can't hold this tomorrow, if they open and you're seeing the weakness that they can't go, and then they lose this, that's telling you that this zone is becoming very important for them to accumulate in and to have a two-sided activity. Meaning at the top, who's expected to show up here?
Sellers.
You want responsive sellers to show up here. If we dip below here, like we did, what do you expect to see?
Responsive buyers.
Yeah,
Responsive buyer.
you want the responsive buyers to come in and crack. And then on this zone here, let's say tomorrow we break this high, right, and we just rip. Don't fight it, because then the idea is what you want to do if you're not familiar with the the brackets. How can we find the next target? It's if this was accumulated at the top. Let's say you don't have the top here. How would you find where's the next level? If this is at the all-time highs.
Fib
The
extension.
fibs.
Yeah, I mean, remember we talked about you can take the fibs, right? Take this, but then change the fibs to be what?
Extensions.
Yep, you want them to be extensions, but you can also choose to be, I want to see 50% of that, and then I want to see the 100% of that extension, meaning I want to take this zone and basically replicate it from here to here, shift it again, and that puts you right here at 200, and the half of that would be here. Does that make sense to all? Typically, you want to do that,
Yeah.
and it happens a lot, right? And you can see here, right? Let's say if we test the theory right here, I'm just going to use the opposite, right? So let's say we test this one to the high here. So you have the 200, right? Decent. And I could also do, let's see, 2.5. I could also do 3. And you don't have to go in increments of 50, but that's just my preference. And you see here, I mean, if you look at the levels, you're hitting some of these levels, like 200, is coming up. Then you have the 250. You had a nice little bounce, nice stop. You went below. You struggled to get above it. You didn't hit necessarily the 70-25. I don't know if they did. Well, they did, right? They hit 300, and that's typically, from standard deviations perspective, that's a lot when you go 3 times above something. So they lost, and they reclaimed that, and they kind of exploded higher. Does that make sense to all? Like how and why I use those?
Yeah.
Anyone confused with fibs at all? No, you guys are all good then. All right, well, I'll be on
Do
tomorrow.
you do sigmas and the FRVP on RTH or ETH when you have like
I usually look at the ETH on the brackets just to capture
Okay.
all of it. Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
Shorty,
Yep.
sorry, you took a long, and then you said your target was like 3 points higher. Is that
44?
case?
Did I write wrong numbers? Sorry.
Yeah, I think you wrote 47 as a target.
Oh, 57. I'm sorry. So it would be. Let me see what I wrote to you guys. Oh, 57, 52.
Okay,
Yeah.
make more sense now.
Sorry.
No, otherwise
57,
you're not doing your 3x math
No,
for the
no,
stop
no.
loss.
It would
Yeah,
be 57, 52. Sorry. So I don't want to approach this guy again. I don't want to play with him.
Yep.
And then 57 would be kind of right here. I wouldn't mess with them. And if you take the fibs, 100% sure that this is going to be 1618. Yeah, yeah. 127 is right there, 57, and 1618, 60. Yeah, I'm not willing to mess with these guys too much.
Yep.
Maybe if they're nice, they run through it, but yeah. And if you look here right now, right, where we're rejecting, look, I mean, just smaller box, right? They're trying to get inside of this, and if they do, it's going to be a quick candle up, right? And then they're going to lose it and dance and then try to build value in this final one. Here's a small rejection coming in.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right, guys. Well, if you're long, I'm still long. I'm trailing actually at 44.75, just below my entry. Hopefully, we get something good out of it. All right,
Thank you.
we'll see you guys tomorrow morning. I'll be on.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks. Good night.